Hey guys, welcome back to another video and happy Saturday. So we're all aware of the fact that when things get challenging, people start getting creative, sometimes in the worst of ways, lying, cheating, and breaking the law. Call it opportunistic behavior or simply trying to survive the challenging times. The reality is the trucking industry has been dealing with a ton of fraud that not only makes it harder to operate your business safely, but it also apparently creates an opportunity for increased capacity that really should not be there. So let's chat about what the FMCSA is planning to do and is already doing in order to clean up the industry. And it's a big one. Ready? Let's go. So, Overdrive reported that Dale Prax, who used to be a broker and now put all his focus on freight fraud, said, and I quote, "Everyone needs to realize how easy it is to get a motor carrier authority. All you need is $300 on a Visa gift card you can buy at Walmart. Then you need a VIN number. A potential fraudster can live in any country and get a VIN number off a truck in a junkyard, and a crooked insurance agent, of which there are plenty, will write you an insurance policy because they know you are never going to be in an accident and never have a cargo claim," he said. "To become a barber in the state of Tennessee, I'd need to go through 1,500 hours of training, sit for an 8-hour exam, and make sure I'm not in debt to the school. My question to the government is," and it's a good one, "do you care more about bad haircuts or safety on the roads?" Now, this gentleman, because he focuses on freight fraud so much, he did a very interesting experiment. According to Overdrive, in April of 2023, he set up an automated tool to quickly find any newly registered carrier that's using a PO box, a virtual address, a Staples store, mailboxes, or UPS stores as their principal place of business. And the result was some 1,100 carriers registering with a principal place of business in direct violation of FMCSA regulations. That's on the carrier side. Now, we also have the brokers, right? And on the broker side, Prax said FMCSA's system has about 22,000 brokers. Now, out of those 22,000, 6,698 don't have a contact name, 7,090 don't have an email contact, 611 have no contact phone number. And he says that this is important because if a guy gets a load from a broker, where does he go to make sure the broker is a good guy? He can look at the safer web that we have been talking about on this channel quite a bit, but there's no name in there, no email address. He's got to have somewhere to check. Even worse, as Prax pointed out, brokers don't have to go through new entrant audits. So yeah, clearly there is an issue. We know that the government likes to implement more and more and more regulations, but what is happening now is that while they're implementing more regulations, the current regulations are not keeping anybody safe because they're simply not enforced. But now the FMCSA plans to implement identification and business verification tools into the registration system, not allowing registrants to proceed until they have proven their identity and the fact that their business actually exists and is registered with the IRS. But the best part, according to Overdrive's article, these changes will impact all new applicants, but we're also going to run all existing registrants, everybody in our database. Over 800,000 entities can riddle the director of the office registration at the FMCSA said. And he continues to say, if they don't go through with it or refuse to or don't pass, we'll start with revocation proceedings. We're going to clean up the bad actors. In other words, those carriers as well as brokers that don't actually have a principal place of business within the US and are using some shady no-name office or a broom closet or even a registered agent as the principal place of business might either get flagged or rejected when applying for authority. Now, the FMCSA is also planning to get rid of all MC numbers and use DOT numbers as the sole identifier. And if a carrier does not fill out their biennial update, which is the Form MCS 150, or doesn't pay their UCR fees, that DOT number goes inactive. So what we have talked about so far is stuff that is pending and is going to start happening step by step. But is there anything that the FMCSA has already done? Yes, there is. The FMCSA has already suspended online PIN requests, required multi-factor authentication, verified the principal place of business when it does not appear to conform to the regulatory requirements, required driver's license checks for paper application submissions, and launched a registration fraud team. So what are the implications of this new and improved fraud-proof registration system? Well, we all know that the industry is riddled with carriers and brokers who are not even based here, and this will hopefully eliminate or at least reduce all of that fraudulent activity. I mean, come on, according to this Prax gentleman, he said that he's identified an individual based in the Central Asian nation of Uzbekistan who runs a ring of 14 companies that book and then double broker loads amongst themselves and others. Each of this person's filings indicated that they were a US citizen with no affiliations to any other carriers. So let's talk about double brokering for a second. How does it work? In a normal legal situation, we have the shipper who gives the load to the broker and the broker then sells it to the carrier. In a double brokered situation, we have a shipper that gives the load to the broker who then sells it to the carrier. But then that carrier gives that load to a broker they're in cahoots with, or perhaps their own company, one of their own companies, and that broker brokers that load out to a final carrier. So now that final carrier, the last one, ends up hauling a load, thinking everything is fine and dandy, hauling a load that got 2 broker rate cuts from the first legitimate broker and from the second double broker. Now, according to Overdrive, to stay under the radar these days, double brokers in most cases we've seen are in fact paying the actual carrier who delivered the load, the last carrier, albeit at a reduced amount. Obviously, this sinks rates for real carriers involved in these schemes, reducing profits. By paying the actual carriers, double brokers / connected carrier entities, the ones that carrier and broker that work together to do shady stuff, they avoid detection, establish a credit history, and build a reputation, which is terrifying. But that's in the best case scenario, right? In the worst case scenario, that final carrier who is the legitimate carrier who actually picked up and delivered the load, this carrier sends the paperwork to the illegal broker. That illegal broker sends the paperwork to the carrier who did not take that load, did not actually transport that load, and that carrier then sends it to the legal broker and gets paid. And the final carrier who actually did all the work never sees the money. And that is what happened to us. So just to sum it up, while I am not one for more regulations, you guys know that I really don't like more regulations. I think this business is hard as it is. I have to say that I'm extremely happy that the FMCSA is finally cracking down on both new registrations as well as existing ones. And that's the key, because by now, boy, there are a ton of illegal brokers and carriers in the system, and it's time to clean house. What do you guys think? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me today on a Saturday. I hope you have a fantastic weekend and a safe start to your week next week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep learning. See you in the next video.